there is some kind of a notion that corporates are just mechanical, materialistic, and we tend to keep it that way, but it's not. Humans are working there, so where is the human element? We have lost it somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
I have personally seen some people struggling just to say that they are not feeling good, or they even
Mm.
in fact the mental health space, right? Even
Yeah.
that is considered taboo, and people don't speak up. And I think communication is very, very vital in corporates, and people think that they won't understand the personal issues, or they may not understand your health issues, but it's not like that. Humans work and humans have their own challenges, and communicating that in a right way will give kind of that relationship will be understandable, and is just like any other.
You were talking about the relationship building, and I think COVID has also affected some of the socializing, and people being more guarded and not opening up. So let's talk a little bit about relationships, because I think this is a big one for women as well, especially in a male dominated field. It can be a little, sometimes, I don't know, icky, or you're not sure how to go about it. Or I also see maybe sometimes reverse prejudice. So of course there is bias from their side, but then just because we're dealing with men, we also come with a bunch of bias. So what would be your suggestion to some of your teammates and even people listening, is like, how can we build good relationships in corporate?
I think you brought up a real good point. It's both ways, right? And we always think that men should understand women, but I think women should also equally understand men. And I think these are two, species of humans. I mean, I should not use that word, but I think ultimately, but the core, the hierarchy is a human, right? And I think a lot of there are similarities, but there are differences as well, and both needs to understand each other, right? Especially the biological factors which men don't go through. So educating that, I think that is very much important for a woman to do to a man. And the emotional quotient, right? I think emotions definitely both men and women have, but the society expects different expectations from both the genders, right? Like the men are supposed to be like strong, and they shouldn't be crying, and they are conditioned in a different way, but they do have emotions, but the society doesn't allow them to show the emotions freely, right? And that is suppressed emotions. And same with women, that you know uh, somewhere I read a very good article that woman has a lot of good emotions, but the thing is that she thinks that it needs to be dependent on someone, and
Mm.
owning that emotion, like we have become financially independent, but we have not become emotionally independent yet. So this is the beautiful phrase I have heard somewhere. So I think women equally needs to take an accountability to own their own emotions, and support the society as well. So it's, I think, both ways, because I think the biological things which women would know, men would not experience that. But educating them, like I said, right, in my meetings, in my this thing, I talk
Yeah.
about these topics as well, which are
Taboo
kind of
topics.
sensitive topics, but
Yeah.
that needs to be educated. And even in my sessions with all the women, and where men are audience, I talk about these things like the periods, the maternity phase, the mm, perimenopausal phase, or menopausal phase, because these are very, very important. And they, because it's not just workplace, they need to be knowing that in their home as well.
Home also.
But
Mm.
the society is not ready yet in that. We are not in that culture yet, but I think
Yeah.
slowly, if every one of us start doing that,
Yeah.
there is a broader
And
education over that.
yeah, and I think what you're sharing is also important. I think with relationship building, I think, of course, having the self leadership, understanding yourself is a part of it. But
Yeah.
one thing that you mentioned is vulnerability, right? Like, so being open,
Yeah.
being transparent from get go, I feel like skyrockets trust, skyrockets your connection with someone.
Yeah.
Because there is research done on how people feel connected. It's a neural link. So like when you watch TEDx, um, why do you feel what you feel? It's your brain is syncing with the speaker's brain, and that's the connection you feel to, like, Mel Robbins, right? It's not like Mel Robbins is doing something like to your life. It's just
Yeah.
listening to her really has a biological reaction. And so opening up, sharing your stories, being vulnerable is a great way to build relationships, because you create that neural link with someone. You somehow synced, and that's the human connection that we all feel. And and you just have to start with that thing that feels like, oh, I can't say that, because otherwise what will happen is you'll be just like everybody else who's talking about all the stuff but not going deep, but not sharing the real stuff.
Yeah.
And then you end up not standing out, and then you have no sponsors, nobody knows who you are, you're just a person who, you know, and if you deliver, that's great, but the problem is you can't get ahead in a corporate job without relationships. Like, you cannot
Yeah.
just go with just there's so many women, Deepthi, I'm sure you know,